and he will become a homosexual. In fact, on page 23, there is something more powerful there. Let me, page 23. Yes. It says, in Journal of Counseling and Clinical Psychology by Ray B. Evans, he says that more often, the mothers of homosexuals more often were considered puritanical, cold toward men, insisted on being the center of the son's attention, made him her confidant, were seductive, in quotes, toward him, allied with him against the father, openly preferred him to the father, interfered with his heterosexual activities during adolescence, discouraged masculine attitudes, and encouraged feminine ones. The fathers of the homosexuals were retrospectively considered as less likely to encourage masculine attitudes and activities. And the study subjects spent little time with their fathers. They were more often aware of hating him and afraid he might physically harm them. And they were less often, less often were the father's favorite, felt less accepted by him, and in turn less frequently accepted or respected the father. The results strongly suggested poor parental relationship during childhood for the homosexual men, at least as seen in retrospect. So what we are trying to say is the family environment is very important. Now, when a child is born, the first person the child interacts with is the mother. The role of the mother is very, very important in the development of the child. The mother is the first teacher of that child, and that mother can destroy, even inadvertently, the life of the child, depending on how the mother will relate with that child. Conversely, if a father singly brings up a daughter, maybe the mother is dead or whichever way, and is very close to that girl and teaches her when she's growing up to hate the mother, or maybe if the mother ran away, because I've seen this thing in African societies, particularly people from Western, the Luyas, women believe that children belong to men. And so when you quarrel, she runs away and leaves the children with you. And sometimes men can get annoyed and say, I'll never marry again. I'll just bring up my children. I'll be a mother and a father to them. I mean, you may be trying to deal with your psychological problem, but you do not know that you are destroying the children. So this girl grows up being attached to the father. Eventually, this girl will become a lesbian because she is thirsting and hungering for the attention of the female person. Unless, because that's important, unless we have interventions early in the life of that child, the child will likely become a homosexual. I used yesterday the word homosexual may refer across the board. So if I don't mention lesbian, don't think that I'm not, I've kept them out. The family environment also refers to relatives whom you stay with. Be very careful with the kind of relatives that you stay with. You will never know what they are going to teach your children. Even house helps, maids and houseboys. Teachers who are in counseling department must be aware of these kind of things. They have met. In my teaching career, I was always in counseling department, and I've met all manner of students with all manner of problems. I just remember one girl in a mixed school. Teachers are aware that in a mixed school or in a girls' school, girls tend to get attached to male teachers. If those male teachers are upright, they can really help those girls to come up as good uh, citizens. But if teachers are not upright, they can take advantage and spoil these girls. In a healthy school, girls being attached to male teachers can be very healthy. So there's one girl I was counseling with, and she told me that she had two problems which she was taught by her aunt, the last born of her mother's. The sister to her mother, the last. She said that she was taught in class 3 to engage in masturbation and lesbianism. When she grew, I was dealing with her when she was in Form 2. And I found she said that she's not able to stay without that habit. Sometimes in class, she would ask for permission to go out. Kumbe, she's just going to engage in that thing. She said she doesn't bed with other girls, she beds alone because she does it. And she said she's dying. That thing is destroying her. She's aware that it's going to destroy her marriage. And I told her that's true. Of course, I'll not tell you how we ended, but we Christians also, which of course I'll be talking about it tomorrow. Tomorrow I'll be dealing with the religious arguments, but not bad if I slip it in. We believe that any behavior that is against the will of God is taken advantage of by Satan. And so when you are helping those people, if you are a spiritual leader, don't rule out demonic effects. You can begin by exorcism. I know scientists have a problem with that, but we believe that it's true because we see it happening in the life of Jesus Christ when he was here on earth. And so to me, that is very, very, very important. Of course, sometimes the other parent may not be there for reasons which are beyond your control. The parent died or ran away, or you got a child before you got married, so the parent is not there. In such cases, make sure that you expose your child to the other figure. If it's a father who's absent, there must be a father figure in the life of that child. What I'm just saying is that all these kind of situations must have interventions so that the child will be brought up in an upright way. Then number 3 was the peer group environment. The peer group environment. And here I want to insist, because I've seen it experientially, that the school where your child goes is extremely important. The school environment. The child will meet other children, especially if this child who's going to school has a low self-esteem. A child with a low self-esteem has a desire to please people who tend to value that child. So if a child is a boy and he has gone to a boys' school, he will tend to please those boys so that they may admit him into their social circle. And the pleasing may go as far as allowing homosexual behavior to rule him. So peers, if parents have brought up their children very well and their children trust them very much, they may minimize on the effect of peers. But if the relationship between children and parents is poor, the child will want to look for a person who is going to demonstrate value in her or in him. And that is how people may take advantage to mislead your child. Many children who have admitted that they are homosexual or that kind of thing, a number of them would be honest and say that they were taught by their fellow boys, fellow girls. Although we have dealt with the cases who have claimed that it's a natural desire and they are not able to conquer it, we shall be looking about it later. But here what I'm saying is that parents who demonstrate value in their children, making their children to trust them and to love them, those children walk around with them with the moral values of their parents. And they do not want to displease their parents. So when other boys and girls start misleading them, they'll tell them no, they'll tell them off. But if your child, for one reason or another, has got low self-esteem and your relationship with that child is bad, probably there is violence in the home. And this violence makes one parent to pull children to him or her. Ladies are experts in that. Or the man also may pull. And one of the things that may make you retain your child is if you are talking negatively against the other parent. We parents may think that we are dealing with each other when we are actually destroying the lives of our children. So it makes children to leave home with a low self-esteem. They are not happy with the kind of families they are coming from. And so they are vulnerable to peer misleading. And a good number of homosexuals have suffered from that. Then I should also mention about the moral environment. The moral environment. I'd like to let you know that a child's conscience is largely shaped by parental environment and can be reinforced or blunted by the social environment. Conscience, when a child is growing up to around 12 years, what is right and what is wrong is what parents have said. If parents say drinking water is wrong, children accept that. Parents are the moral criteria for children. So parental influence shapes the conscience. Now, the moral environment the child will go to are basically two: the church and the school. Now here we are looking at formal teaching. Formal teaching. For example, in school, right now, teachers are battling, particularly in this CBC era, with the, for example, I saw on one chart, families, but the red families. So there was the traditional family, father, mother, and child. Then there was single family, mother and child. That's a family. There was father and child. But now there was man and man. Then there was woman and woman. There was man and child, woman and child. Now that is the moral environment. People with the moral authority teaching children. Children are bound to trust these teachers. Church leaders in church, children in children's classes in church, Pathfinder, children ministries, the people who are teaching these children, do they have moral authority to teach your children? In fact, if you have noticed, teachers seem to attract the trust of children than parents. Try to teach your class 3 child, even if you are a teacher, mathematics, and the child will tell you, this is not how my teacher has taught me. And you will not remove that child from that point. Even if you tell him that I'm also a teacher, you say, no, you're not a teacher. You are a daddy, you are mommy. And this means, therefore, that teachers, if teachers are listening to me, we have placed our children in your hands. Tafadhali msiharibu. In teaching, a Christian teacher, a person who has got moral authority, even when you are teaching what is in the textbook, like we Christian teachers, when you are teaching evolution, there's what you call integration of faith in learning. You teach evolution, but you let children know that this is, you don't believe in this. You, as a teacher, you don't believe in it. However, because it's in the syllabus, they have to learn. And if a question comes, they have to answer what they have learned. But you have a right to tell the child the truth. Brother Seventh Day Adventist Harmony, please mute your mic. Seventh Day Adventist Harmony, kindly mute your mic. Hello, Brother Clinton. Somebody can call Clinton. I can hear his voice in the background. Mute your mic. Hello, Clinton. Okay, I hope so. Okay, thank you. So I'm saying a person who possesses moral authority can influence you. There is something called pornography. Many children learn homosexual behavior by watching them in the internet. They watch them in the internet. And we also have TV programs which are not necessarily good for people of certain ages. They're not good for people of certain ages. And sometimes TV may be very difficult to control. They even say in certain programs that it's not suitable for children under 16 and that kind of thing, but sometimes we don't care. The media has done a lot of damage depending on the site that we are watching. Of course, the media can also do a lot of good, but we are tracing homosexual behavior as partly contributed by the media. Now, let me recap before I go to number 5. When a child is born, that child, Brother Mwindi, you had raised your hand? Okay, sawa. When a child is born, that child interacts with varied environmental factors. And these varied environmental factors influence a child in many ways, including sexual orientation. And we are talking about homosexuality. And our argument here strongly is that because scientists have admitted that we don't have genetic causation of homosexual behavior, at least the research has not been done that proves that, what has been left is environment. The environment. And so I have mentioned about the environment. We teachers have learned about Sigmund Freud. There was just a point somebody has. There's a point you will notice that Sigmund Freud says that a child's self-esteem is connected to his sexuality when he's growing up. And Sigmund Freud mentions, and this thing, if we have mentioned, you notice that we had many women would rather be men, not just because there's the view in the whole world that men have been mistreating women. That view is not based on authentic research, because also women have been mistreating men, only that it's not reported. All these people, women mistreat men and men mistreat women, but men mistreating women has been widely reported, and therefore women thought that maybe it's even better to be a man. Why am I born a woman so that I may be mistreated na vitu kama hivyo? But Sigmund Freud said something very interesting, that when a girl child is born, the moment that child comes in contact with the boy child, the girl child discovers that there is a genitalia that she is missing. And boy children can do funny things with their genitalia. They can pee in pails, wherever they play around, and it is very interesting. But the girl child is not able. And so if intervention cannot be done earlier, the girl child will start wishing it also had that, she also had that. And eventually, with the interaction of so many other activities, this child may develop low self-esteem. And now she is vulnerable to being misled, depending on the environment this child will be in. Now, we have talked about these 4 factors. There is one that can never be ignored: the role of personal choice. The role of personal choice. All of us have some responsibility for our destiny. Even heterosexuals choose whether they will have that sexual relationship or not. The fact that you are a heterosexual individual does not mean that you'll move around sleeping with any woman. You exercise personal choice. We have many heterosexuals who choose not to marry. It is not that it is genetically determined or what. It is personal choice. And putting aside conspiracy theories, I can say that many Catholic priests don't marry and nuns don't marry. Remember, putting aside conspiracy theories which explain they do what. But you can be a heterosexual and you choose not to. And similarly, you may be having homosexual feelings, but you choose not to engage in homosexuality because you have a personal choice. You have a personal choice. And even heterosexual individuals are not necessarily safe or safer, because a person who can abuse that function, he will be called a maniac. If he is a man, and I think who is called an incombu. You can go too far, and you are just as pathologically affected as a homosexual, because we are looking at homosexuality as a pathological condition, because you are affected. You have feelings that are driving you in that direction. But we are saying the element of personal choice is very, very important. In fact, when you read so many articles and what many people support homosexual behavior, right, there is often an unstated assumption that strong feelings should dictate behavior. This is not accepted in almost all other areas of life. For example, for heterosexuals, if you have a strong feeling of lust, does that mean that you should engage in adultery? You have a strong feeling of hate. Does that mean that you should be allowed to destroy property and all these kind of things? If you have a strong desire or craving for something, does that mean that you should be allowed to go ahead and steal? I love cars. And if I have a strong desire for a Prado, does that mean I should be allowed to go and acquire it? No. Therefore, the element of personal decision is there. And I want to repeat something that I said yesterday, that lobbying for homosexual behavior by Western nations has got something hidden. Because Western nations know very well that we don't have authoritative scientific facts supporting homosexual behavior. Scientists have admitted, yet they go ahead and fight for the rights of these people. I mentioned that it could be related to those theories that we had in Corona. If you, a homosexual, marries another homosexual, they won't see your children, and therefore it's a way of reducing on the world population. So what I want to read Proverbs chapter 14, verse 12. Proverbs chapter 14, verse 12, it says, "There is a way that seems right to a man, but its end is the way of death." There is a way that seems right to a man, but its end is the way of death. In this world, you cannot do anything you want. That's why we have the law. We have the law. Even when we are doing the right things. I remember in a theology class led by Professor Miayo, I didn't ask him that I'll mention, but because he was teaching a class and there are many people, it was a public thing. He asked, what will you do if you have a very strong feeling, sexual feeling towards your mother? Will you go ahead and engage in that relationship? So in this world, there is the question of personal choice. A great majority of homosexuals choose to become homosexuals and are taking advantage of the lobbying and what have you so that they may be accepted. Nevertheless, for homosexuals who have been caused by all these factors, including biological and other environmental factors in the womb, even including those who choose to be homosexuals, because in this world, when you choose to do a bad thing, it becomes addictive, like taking alcohol. They need intervention, and the intervention, we shall be talking about it probably towards the end of this week, but just like any pathological condition requires intervention. And tomorrow I'll be talking about biblical arguments, and probably that's where I may mention about spiritual interventions for people who have a homosexual orientation. Otherwise, for today, I've demonstrated that since yesterday we looked at the biological factors which have been presented by scientists as causing homosexual behavior, and found that scientists have admitted that homosexual behavior is not possible for it to be genetically determined. We now went to environmental factors, which I have been listing and briefly highlighting. And it's our responsibility in the way we are bringing up our children to be careful with the environment the child is growing up in. Tomorrow, I'll be dealing with the biblical argument. The biblical argument against homosexuality, or the religious argument against homosexuality. I'll combine it with the ethical argument in favor of homosexuality. Remember, day one I mentioned that we shall be looking at a number of arguments. I'll begin with the ethical one, which says that using this catch, my dress, my choice. I mean, if it is good to you, do it. If it's good to me, I do it. You cannot dictate your ethical values upon me. We shall start with that, and with the time we may also look at the biblical argument. Otherwise, I would like us to end right now. Thank you so much for being with me. May God bless us. I would like us to pray. Father in heaven, thank you so much for this opportunity that we have had. Thank you for my brothers and sisters who have fellowshiped with me through this discussion. Bless them, and if they have learned one or two things, help them to go and teach others. Give us again tomorrow, same time, so that we may continue learning most of the things that you like us to learn. Forgive us our trespasses and remember us in the kingdom, for we pray in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you and bye.
Thank you, Pastor, for the presentation. Just want to recognize members who are our guests today, members who are not worshiping with us at Harmony. Maybe you just raise your hand so that we may recognize you. Thank you. Thank you. Yes. Yeah, thank you for joining us. And tomorrow, same time at 8 p.m., please join us. Thank you and bye.
I hope those people who are raising up their hands, you want, I can see Fred, Newton. Okay, we're leaving. I look forward to meeting you. Fred, thank you so much for joining. Newton and others, the 9 who are raising up their hands. Asanteni sana. God bless you.